So tifo comes from the Italian word tifosi, which means to be fevered or, like sick. And in this case, we think of feverish, like, and fans are feverish. They're all up in arms and they're passionate. So that's where tifo comes from. So a tifo, in the sort of the way we look at it, is any large scale display of support for the team. So, some people look at it and say, okay, well, we do tifo because we do signs and banners, and that certainly, because it's an expression. In the Timbers Army, from an organizational perspective, tifo for us are the half dozen or so really big displays that we do every year that involve, front lifts or table roll or card animation or streamers or smoke, right? That's often referred to in some cultures, soccer cultures, as choreo. Mike Coleman. I am on the board of directors for the 107 Independent Supporters Trust, where I serve as a member of the TIFO committee as well as the co-president for the organization. So how do we come up with an idea? Well, it's been said the best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas, and that is no more true than in working through the process of creating a TIFO. We have a bunch of incredible designers, incredibly creative people, and then we have a bunch of incredibly creative members at large who may not be designers but have ideas, and those ideas filter in to the committee, and then the committee, for every TIFO, you've got somebody defined as the project manager, the assistant project manager, and you have a designer. So that designer is really responsible for ultimately executing the vision, and sometimes they'll come in with a fully baked idea, but most times they'll come in with a concept and they'll run it into the committee, and then we'll bring in the other designers and we just riff on it and we go through it, and we may go through 5 or 6 different iterations of an idea and come up with something completely different than what we started. But the idea is that, and sometimes it's confrontational. We argue, we disagree, but in the end, I think what we end up doing is putting together the best display that we possibly can, because we have gone through that collaboration and that confrontation, and we've come out with ultimately something that's going to be a great final product, we hope.
So my name is Peter Johnson, lifelong Portlander. My family had season tickets for the original NASL Timbers back in the mid-'70s. It's funny, when as I was thinking about our conversation, I did go back and look at a few pictures that I had grabbed from some past ones. Always the tifos that are around the Sounders matches, are always so good. One I was looking at showed flounders, of course, belly up in the water. I think the slogan was "You'll float too," I believe. So anything that insults those Sounders is always positive. But I do always appreciate. I think the tifos often have somewhat of a social justice message. Often, I've seen rainbow tifos. One I also remember dealt with anti-racism. I think it said anti-racism social club, I believe. So it's not only supporting the team, but it's also sharing an important social and justice message, which I think is awesome. So my season tickets are actually right at the base of the Mac Club, and so about 4 rows up from the field, kind of in the corner there. And so when those tifos go up, I feel like I've got the best view in the house, because they're just right directly across from me. I'm always impressed by the choreography of it. They can actually pull off, pulling those things up, just the sheer brilliance and color. I'm always amazed how often they come up. That means it seems like they're always working on them, potentially. And then there's always the auxiliary pieces to it that sort of bring that out. Sometimes there's flags that are flying or other things that make it three-dimensional. So those are always quite impressive.
The full process for TIFO, once you have an idea, right, you've got to execute it. And the execution of the TIFO requires dozens and dozens of people spending hundreds of man hours working on it. So we will trace the TIFO out. We have the fabric done here locally. We have a local sailmaker that sews up our banners for us. Once you have the design, you stretch out those banners and you trace them. We used charcoal and a projector system to get the image onto there. We then bring in literally armies of people to paint them. They're all hand painted. We use normal latex house paint most of the time, and we'll do that over the course of several days depending on the display and how much time we have. Once that's done, we also do all our own rigging. So we have a team of 3 or 4 people that are responsible for going in and shooting the ropes, is what we say. And they basically hang all the pulley system, they hang all the ropes in the stadium, and they get that ready. Then we will bring in more volunteers on match day. We'll rig all that up, and then when the national anthem ends, the display goes up.
My name is Zarek Valentine. I'm a defender for the Portland Timbers. After the national anthem, we do a little bit of quick runs, and then, I usually get a smelling salt to kind of give myself the last little bit of energy. And then I take a drink of water, and my favorite moment is always walking to the team huddle and looking over. Because I'd say it's about a 7-second walk where I try to just have like a little bit of an out-of-body experience and soak up, what the Army has cooked up for a tifo. Obviously, there's been a bunch of different ones, and I can remember a lot of them distinctively. And I always enjoy that walk because I don't run. Some players run to the middle. I walk to try to soak in the environment because, as fun as it is and as much of a job and these things it is, we also have to enjoy the moment. So I enjoy those little 7 seconds right before we get into our team huddle. I'm just going to say they're uniquely memorable. Meaning they're memorable because of how unique and different they are. They're unexpected. You know what I mean? A lot of times, even the one we just saw like 2 days ago, we played Seattle, and the fans down here had one, and it was checks and X's for the penalty kick shootout. So things like that just make you laugh, and it's things along those lines that are just incredible. And so they're uniquely memorable. They're not memorable for bad reasons, but they're memorable because of how incredibly unique they are.